I've always wondered if there's a world record out there for just pure, unfiltered nerve when it comes to homeowners associations. Because if there is, I'm telling you right now, the folks over at Lakeview Estates would have it locked down. I mean, I'm not talking about the usual nosy neighbor nonsense or a stern letter about your mailbox color. I'm talking about a group so bold, so shameless, that they took a look at the rule book, tore it up, and threw a party on the ashes, all for the chance to grab a $20 million slice of what was never theirs to begin with. Yeah, you heard me, 20 million bucks. If you think I'm making this up, stick around because this story is so wild, you might want to buckle your seatbelt before we get going. It all started like most of these suburban horror stories do, peacefully. After years designing high-security estates for everyone from reclusive CEOs to the sort of folks who get their mail delivered in armored trucks, I finally decided to build a home for myself. I found this perfect patch of land, all rolling hills, quiet woods, and a little private beach, curling along a lake so clean you could see the fish waving back at you. The house was my personal masterpiece, set back from the road, tucked behind a wall of old-growth trees protected by a heavy-duty automated gate. This was my reward, my escape, my little corner of freedom, and best of all, when I built it, there wasn't a homeowners association in sight, not even a whiff. But peace in suburbia is always temporary, isn't it? A few years in, some developer got ambitious, and just across the Lakeview Estates sprang up brand new homes, fancy landscaping, and of course their very own HOA. No surprise I wasn't part of it. My property was older, my boundaries set in stone and law, and I made it crystal clear I planned to stay independent. At first, the HOA just sent friendly little letters inviting me to join the community or contribute to the improvement fund. I declined politely at first, then less so as the notes kept coming. That's when Brenda McMasters entered the scene. Picture the classic HOA queen bee platinum blonde helmet hair, always dressed in neon leisure wear that could stop traffic, and behind her, surgically perfected smile eyes that missed nothing and forgave even less. Brenda didn't just run the HOA, she was the HOA. And I figured as long as she kept her drama on the far side of the lake, we could coexist. But little things started happening. Cars parked a little too close to my fence line, strangers staring out at my dock like they were window shopping. Then one morning I'm sitting on my porch sipping coffee, and I spot two guys wandering down my beach, fishing rods in hand, waving like we're old friends. I walk down, keep it civil. "Hey fellas, private property, please don't come back." They apologize, seem embarrassed, and leave. Next week it's a family kids cooler, even a little yappy dog that tried to fertilize my roses. This time the dad actually argues, saying Brenda told them it was the community's lake. I corrected him. He grumbled and eventually retreated, but that mention of Brenda stuck in my mind like a sliver. A few days later, reviewing my security footage, just something I do out of old habit, I see something that makes my heart stop. There's Brenda herself standing at my front gate. Not knocking. Not waiting. She pulls out a key, pops open my locked gate, and lets a whole group in, gesturing grandly at my beach like she's showing off her latest real estate conquest. She relocks the gate behind her as if she owned the place. My gate had a high security lock, and there were only 3 keys, mine one in my safe, and one with my longtime head gardener, Miguel, who I trust like family. I'm telling you, in that moment, I felt like I was in some weird alternate reality, like all my security measures were just theater. This wasn't an accident, this was theft, pure and simple, and it was clear Brenda had no clue who she was messing with. I didn't lose my cool. Instead, I started collecting evidence footage logs, even drone shots showing strangers setting up shop on my dock, dragging coolers across my beach, leaving beer cans and food wrappers everywhere. It wasn't just an occasional trespass, it was a full-blown invasion. Families, teenagers, even old-timers with folding chairs parading in and out as if my private property was the new Lakeview Estates Beach Club. That line Brenda tossed off, "You've got gardeners they can tidy up," ate at me more than the trash. My people are professionals, not a cleanup crew for entitled neighbors. It wasn't about the mess, it was about respect, about privacy. I knew a polite conversation wasn't going to cut it, so I called Arthur Kingsley, the sharpest property lawyer I know. Arthur is the kind of guy who can smell HOA arrogance a mile off, and when I handed him my stack of evidence security logs, drone shots, even HOA newsletters bragging about their exclusive lake access, his eyes lit up. We drafted a cease and desist letter that laid everything out: illegal entry, stolen key, damage, the works. Brenda's reply: a handwritten note complete with glitter pen. Thank you for your input. The community appreciates the lake access. We'll take your concerns under advisement. I mean, that's basically the HOA version of talk to the hand. After that, things got ugly fast. My cameras caught people trying to jimmy open my boathouse. Someone strung up a volleyball net between my old oak trees. My dock took a beating, and the piece I'd built my life around was gone. Then came a twist. Miguel remembered a landscaping crew hired by the HOA working near my fence a few weeks before the trespassing really took off. One of them had gotten him talking at the gate. When I went back over footage from that week, I caught a blurry shot of a crew member slipping a hand into a maintenance box where I kept an emergency spare key. Gone. That's how they'd done it. Not some criminal mastermind, just opportunism and a little inside info. The nail in the coffin came from an unexpected ally. Mr. Henderson, a quiet neighbor from across the lake, showed up one day with a copy of the latest HOA newsletter. Right on the cover, Brenda grinning, giant scissors in hand, ribbon tied to a fishing rod, grand opening, Lakeview Estates Fishing and Recreation Club. Your new lakeside paradise. The article gave directions right to my gate, even mentioning a $50 annual club fee. They were making money selling access to my property. Arthur couldn't believe their stupidity. Not only were they trespassing, they were running a business off my land and documenting it in print. At that point, we weren't just going after a restraining order, we were going after real damages. We sued the HOA, and when the numbers started adding up, property repair, loss of value, legal fees, and punitive damages for the outright gall of what they'd pulled, it came to $20 million. The HOA tried every trick, claimed the access was historic, painted me as the villain, even filed a nuisance complaint. The judge tossed it all out. Discovery was brutal. My video footage, photos, drone shots, all cross-referenced and time-stamped, painted a picture even Brenda couldn't spin away from. The depositions were a circus. Brenda, in her neon power suits, tried to play the community martyr, but under Arthur's questioning, she started coming apart. The clincher was a series of leaked internal emails from an anonymous resident, Brenda, openly strategizing how to liberate my lakefront and downplaying any legal risks. Several board members admitted under oath they were just following Brenda's lead, too intimidated or indifferent to speak up. In the end, the court wasn't buying any of it. Expert witnesses broke down every bit of damage, from the environmental impact on rare plants to the diminished value of a once private estate now dragged through public mud. They calculated every dollar. The judge listened to it all, then handed down her ruling: $20 million every cent. The sound in that courtroom when the number was announced, you could have heard a pin drop, except for Brenda, who looked like she'd swallowed her own glitter pen. Afterward, everything changed. Brenda was kicked out as HOA president almost overnight. Their insurance company took one look at the judgment and denied the claim. Intentional wrongdoing isn't covered. The board panicked. They called emergency meetings, tried to figure out how to pay. With a few hundred homes, the special assessment would have bankrupted half the residents. Houses went up for sale overnight. The sense of community turned to panic and finger-pointing. Brenda sold her Escalade, listed her house, vanished from town. Rumor is she moved somewhere far away, and honestly, nobody missed her. The HOA itself collapsed, couldn't pay, the judgment couldn't function. Arthur Ever, the chess player, negotiated a settlement where they turned over their actual lakefront common land to pay me back, which felt like poetic justice. They tried to steal my beach. In the end, they lost theirs. I took the time to restore my property, replant the shoreline, beef up security one last time, and eventually turn the old HOA beach into a small conservation area. A quiet, real community resource, one that nobody can exploit for profit. The lessons. Document everything. Never underestimate how far some folks will go to get what they think they deserve. And get yourself a lawyer who doesn't flinch. The whole town got a little wiser about HOA's property rights and the cost of unchecked ego. I got my peace back, the sound of the lake at night, the quiet my home was built for, and the satisfaction of knowing that sometimes the biggest bullies fall the hardest. So if you've got a wild HOA story or a thought about where the line between community and theft really is, drop it in the comments, because this is one of those debates that's far from over. Was justice served? Did I go too far? Let's hear your take, because around here, the only club anyone's joining these days is the one where you respect your neighbor's fence.